Good afternoon. This is Sam Vaughan for Sam's Sports Report and Sam's Mental Health Day. But first, we'll go over mental health. Today, we're going to get to sports. Don't worry. But this is a subject that I continue to be passionate about, and it's a newer subject. But I'm gonna go ahead and knock it out. If you feel like you're not okay, believe it or not, that is okay. In this society, we want everything to be happy and feel good, and it doesn't always be the case. For example, here are some stats for suicide. More than 72 people commit suicide every year. Suicide is the third leading cause of death among 15 to 29 years old. 73% of global suicide occurs in the low middle income countries. The reason suicides are multifaceted influences social culture, biological, psychological, environment factors present across the life. Of course, for every suicide, there are many more people who attempt suicide. A prior suicide is an important risk and factor for suicide in general population. I'm facing some depression, and my life has changed like a dime. Even though I don't like it, it's important for me to focus on myself. Life is not always roses and shine or sunflower and shine. Speaking of the weather, it's very rainy in Kansas City and kind of gross. It's hard for so many of us in the world as we face the rainy times to be okay. Calm app, which provides a meditation, the Peloton app, which provides many exercises such as walking, running, weights, anything that you can think of to be a workout. It has helped me a lot, and it continues to be a daily activity for me to work out. I could expand on this more, but my short answer is use your strategies. Whether that's calm app, run, exercise, sunlight, relationships end, and it's very hard for somebody and for most. But people who face depression, it is more hard for me and Austin to talk about it's okay not to be okay. Here's that. Let's do some mental health, and then I've got the final four, so we'll go through that quickly. What does it mean to you to not be okay? And is it okay not to be okay? What does that mean to you?
Yeah. Yeah, is that if you're not having a good,
It's good
is
for
that,
if you're doing okay.
yeah, like, yeah, like it's okay, like to say that you're not doing okay. I mean, because yeah, I know some people are kind of the mindset they'll like try to like kind of hide it that if they ask that you're like actually not doing okay inside, but if someone asks that, you'll try to hide it and say that you're doing okay. So that the saying is, yeah, just it's okay to answer that you're not doing okay.
Um, any ideas of how the mental health can get better in the U.S.?
Yeah, I'd say this may have been discussed with like kind of the schools and stuff already, but maybe just like in like the schools just having more of like resources that you can go to with like having like kind of like a someone in the school or something that like specializes in like kind of the mental health like category just having more of those resources set up in the school, and then also to like in colleges too as well. And then as far as the workplace goes, I think just having more of those, like being able to set up there, because I know at my workplace they do have kind of like a support system that you can kind of go to for if you're like having if you're having like a mental health issue, or like you're getting over like a loss of someone or something like that. They have that like resource. So I would say like more workplaces kind of adopting that would be helpful.
Sports in the NBA, the Thunder are headed to the first NBA championship since becoming the Thunder. They have never gone to the NBA championship. As far as an organization, it's been since 1979 when they were the Seattle Supersonics. Last night, the final score was 124-94 in a blowout. Shadris Alexander got 34. He is clearly the best player, and in my argument, one of the most underrated players in the NBA. Tonight, the Knicks need to avoid elimination. The Indiana Pacers are up 3-1, and that game one still haunting them. But the Pacers look for their first NBA championship, just going there since 2000, and have never won an NBA championship. Tonight, the Pacers will host, hoping for a NBA championship. The New York Knicks, the biggest city in the world, in the United States, not just the Knicks, not just the Giants, not just the Jets, but the city of New York hasn't won a championship, at least football, basketball, and baseball, since 2009. So the biggest city in the world doesn't always have success. Well, you find that maybe a little bit surprising. The Knicks haven't won a championship since 1993, and that likely won't happen this year either, as they're on brinks of elimination. Tonight's tip-off is at 7 o'clock. That's on the NBA. Here's Austin and me with more on that. Knicks and Pacers match up tonight. Tip is at 7 o'clock on TNT and TrueMax TV.
Good one so far. To go to game one, I know the Knicks were like winning most of that game, and they ended up like blowing it at the end to force overtime, and the Pacers ended up winning it, and which gave them the 1-0 lead. And then the Pacers, and no one really saw this coming, the Pacers won game two, which made it 2-0 to go back to Indiana. And then last night the Knicks were able to they were down by like double digits at halftime on the road, and they ended up coming back to win the game. So overall, it's been a really great series. Each game has came down to the wire. I'm just still kind of getting my head wrapped around like game one and how the Knicks ended up losing that one, because it seemed like they were like in control of it, and then like the past 4 or 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, they just ended up like having like a meltdown, and the Pacers just like they took advantage of it.
The Florida Panthers are going to try to win their Stanley Cup. The Florida Panthers are going to try to win the Stanley Cup as they get to the Cup for the fourth year in a row. They only have won one, but a chance to get to 500 in the Stanley Cups and win 2 out of 4, which is pretty good in sports. They've gone to as many NHL championships as possible in 4 years, but have lost 2. They try to get that record even. 5-3 was the final. The Panthers are headed back to the NHL championship. Now on the MLB, the Royals losing the series and taking game 3, where once again, which it seemed to be the Royals' problem was scoring runs. 3-2 was the final as they continue to see great pitching. Last night it was Noah Cameron, who was very good, but I find it hard to see the Royals making the playoffs if the offense doesn't seem to produce more. They need to stop running themselves into outs, and when you have a hard time hitting the ball or scoring with runners in scoring position, it is important for them to be at base. I don't know if it's hard to understand for some people, but when you don't have runners on base, you can't score. Royals win last night 3-2, but face the best team in the majors in baseball, Detroit Tigers. We'll talk about this more tomorrow. The Cardinals also have a day off today. The Cardinals took 2 out of 3 this weekend over the Orioles. The Orioles continue to have problems, even though they made the playoffs last year. They are 19-36 right now, and of course they lost to the Royals in the playoffs. The Cardinals are 32-24, 3 games back, but are continuing to have a good season. And this week, they took the series over the Orioles, as we said. Cardinals are 32-24 in 3 games. The Cubs continue their great season as they have the second best winning percentage in baseball. They will go up against the Reds, who just took 2 out of 3 from the Royals. But the Cubs have had a better season than the Royals. They have a 60% winning percentage, which is the second best in the National League. The Cubs will play the Reds, who just, as we just mentioned, saw the Royals this week. They continue their 60% winning percentage, the Cubs do, and sit in the top of the NL Central and the second best team in the National League. The Cubs will play the Reds tomorrow at 1:10. They are set to host all 3 games, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, at 1:10. That's Sam Vaughan Sports.